Hello guys, welcome to my world of programming. This is part 2 of contracts in Web API. Please watch part 1. I've already done the intro. I just want to fly and show you the goodness. If you want me to teach you programming, this is not just, I know this because I read. No, I'm teaching you something that I'm making use of right now in production using my real system, right? So for that, please go and take a look at this YouTube channel. It's my personal YouTube channel. I've already talked about it in the previous video, part 1. And because I know where you're watching these videos right now, the quality is not good and you're too distracted. But when you get time, watch them in 4K on YouTube channel. There are no restrictions there. I'm just limited by social media, right? So previously, we're talking about the request, right? And then we're going to talk about the response. It's the second part of the contract. And also, before I move from the browser, let me refresh to keep the session alive. So this is what we did, in the previous video. We added something, but remember, this is my integrated system. Database is talking to Web API and it's talking to web application and also talking to the mobile application. All of that is an integrated full system, right? So Visual Studio, like I said previously, this is a table called the feedbacks. This is everything about it. The data that you see right now here, it comes from the table right now, right? And we are done with the request, right? We looked at this API routes, and now I want to focus on the second part, which is get all feedbacks, right? Cool. We're still talking about feedbacks. Like, how do you ensure that you are able to retrieve all of this data? Remember, this is me seeing what's in the database, but you want to make sure that your mobile application, your web application, your software application is able to retrieve data, asking the Web API to do so for you. And this is what I have. So we are done with this guy. Now I'm gonna focus on the second part, which is get all feedbacks. Now, I want you to note something. This I've already locked it because the controller itself is protected with authorized attribute. So you can't just send requests without being authorized, right? So we are done with this guy. I don't care about this one. Now we're gonna focus on get all approved. You see the keyword approved feedbacks from the system. That's different. Approved. Good. So I'm just going to give you a quick task. Let me refresh to keep this thing alive. So currently I have 10 items. How many do you think are going to come back? Those are approved out of 10. Right. So we're expecting two things. We're expecting that it's going to produce this endpoint. It's going to produce 44 not found or 200. We found something, but we're going to return as a list of what get all feedbacks response 1. You know what? When I do versioning, we'll talk about how to properly name your classes. This is very important. Like I'm a disciplined programmer. I know what I built. I'm sure you can make sense of this class here or of this method of the entire class, right? Cool. So I'm not going to get into what it does. I just want to show you this guy. Right, so let's quickly go. We are done with the request. Now we're going to look at the response. So let me close that and come back to responses, general, get all feedbacks, V1. So I'm still retaining the same thing. It's very important to separate this. You want to understand this. It's very important to separate these two things. Request is not the same as response. Even if they may have a similar properties, it's not the same. It's very important. Why do I have attributes here, such as required, and I don't have attributes in the responses? Because remember, response is I'm going to give you data, but the request is I want to give you data. So when you give me data, I need to ensure that this is correct. I'm going to make another video to show you that if you don't supply value here, it's going to say, This is how Web API is so powerful. It protects the integrity of a database. I know I talk too much. But when you book private sessions for a full hour, I'm gonna talk slow. I'm gonna allow you to ask questions. I'm gonna be slow. I have to do this to get as much content as possible. right? Because I have almost before, you know what, the video should not be 10 minutes, right? Cool. So get all feedback response, right? I'm expecting title, message, rating, create on, user. But why is it that I'm not expecting whether it should be public or not? Why am I not deciding that? Because this becomes a very, very interesting question. All right. So with that being said, what I want to show you is a web API, right? Good. That from the controller, as soon as I hit the button execute, it's gonna get inside. And I'm not gonna do the debugging to show. Should I do? Let's do debugging. Let me put a breakpoint here, right? Yeah, just for fun of it, you know, just for fun of it. All right. So you see the parameters. We don't need to pass in anything because it's just what it expects 200 or 404. If it's 200, we're gonna get it as a list. You see, this is an array, right? So let me hit try out. It's gonna hit a breakpoint when I hit execute. Check that. Boom. And then because I still got time, let me show you that data is coming live. So let me go there. If you look at this guy, it's null. Right now it's null, doesn't have anything, right? But I'm gonna go to this get all feedbacks on the service. Now I'm in a different class, right? So we first have to have the object that we're gonna return. So the count right now is 0, and now we're just gonna do this to say, listen, go to a table database, go to a table called feedbacks. There I want you to give me everything whose show public is true, and I want you to order them by the most recent one, and when you're done, give them to me as a list. Let's see that. So currently feedback list is null. So let me do that. It's talking to database, give it a couple of seconds, boom, done. How many items came back? 8. So I have 8 items, 8 of them, from 0 to 7, which is 8. The first one shows the actual data. Do you understand? Right. So let me get out of this. It finished, and this is our data. So remember, it came back with the most recent, because if you remember this says you're gonna order them by descending, and this will be the key, descending. But the database shows 10 in total, 10 items, yet I received about 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the question is, what happened to this one, the most recent one? Is because the condition was those whose public show public, whose property of show public is true, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you want to test your functionality. Right now, if I edit this guy, and there's me deciding to say, you know what, I love the feedback, so yeah, let's make it public. Checkbox, hit save. That's the only thing I do. Do you understand? This is how you get to test your database, that whatever you are sending to database is correct. Whatever you are retrieving to database is correct. So now this guy is true. So let me go ahead and run the same query. So you see that the first one, this is the one, but as soon as I hit execute, it's gonna change. The breakpoint. We don't care about this anymore. Go back. There we go. You see? Now this guy becomes the first one on top, and also what's important is that the property is true. Make sense? There we go. So these are the contracts. Contracts are different. Like I said, this is very important. You can't have the request to be similar to the response, because I can tamper with the request, but I may not tamper with the response. Or I can decide to show you which one is public. For example, this is what I can do to say I want the request now to contain a property called of type bool show public. That's it. And I will just have to map it. In fact, I don't even have to map it, because the service automatically, it's gonna map it. We'll talk about auto mapper. It's gonna map it. Do you understand? If I rerun it, it's gonna do that. Until next time.